Good morning. It is September 6th, 2025, and I'm here to read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. It's the September 4th edition of the Clermont Sun. I look now to the Clermont Sun. I've been distracted. People that pay attention with Adams County stuff where they really know how to do it. I mean, we got the Hoochie Express, we got the fake addresses. I got to get more focus on Clermont County, so it's good for me to catch up on the Sun. And I pulled up this edition last night to look at it and thought I barely looked at it because it was just so tiring that it's such a nothing burger, and such a waste of ink and paper and people, except for the sports. So once again, this morning when I sat down here, I thought, what are things that it should be covering? And these are not in any particular order, but I've got the Bill Thomas's indictment and reindictment, the November elections, anything on the November elections. They haven't anything on the November elections. They could have profiles of the judge candidates. They could have profiles of candidates in big townships. They could do something. They could say who's on the ballot in November. They haven't done that. The Terpstra judge, crazy Katie Terpstra's maternity leave. Apparently, she was preggo when she was vying for an appointment to replace a judge in a court that's been rocked by scandal that's never been covered by the Clermont Sun, of a judge using his sexploiting his subordinate, and another judge covering it up and then getting promoted over to the common pleas court. But Judge Terpstra's maternity leave, which starts Monday apparently. The M.I. Holmes, Batavia Township Supreme Court case over the ballot. You think they could cover that? John Becker, is running for auditor, sent out mails. What's going on with the auditor's race? I put out as number 5 on the list. Number 6, Greg Gentile and his fake endorsements by the fake bikers for Trump. Getting to know who are the bikers for Trump. They could do an article on that. That I could add that to the list. It'd be 9. Who were the real bikers for Trump? Please stand up. The Clermont GOP forming a committee to protect their good name by going after people who act in an ethical manner. Honest to God, I can't make it up. They're going to protect their good name by going after people who act ethically, to have dirt on them, to use dirt against them. Versus, on the other hand, they protected from end to end Judge Jesse Kramig when he was effing his assistant in parks and in the courthouse, and so on and so forth. And then this Milford School stuff, both now an SRO officer and a wrestling coach alleged to have improper relationships with female students. But remember the Milford board, you can go watch my videos on that. No rush, no rush. Don't let, and basically people that have the kind of demeanor of these people, should the allegations prove true, they know, hey, where you want to go? What school district? Go to Milford. Milford's a good place to do this stuff because their board is a bunch of mental cases, apparently, who don't have any sense of urgency to protect students. They're more about protecting the institution. So I think I added one. So I think that would be 9 because I added the bikers for Trump. Any one of those things, this paper could make it actually a decent paper, but instead you just get crap. Now, I'm going to put it up here, and I put it up in a new way than I have in the past. It's like some full screen way to do the file. I don't know how this is going to work. Okay? So I'm going to go back and forth. It's not going to enable me to click just straight into a page or to zoom in and out, but it's more readable on the screen. So this is the front page. We have a thing on barn art. Not against barn art. I would encourage you, by the way, when I see these things, it's funny. I'm all for barn art, but this is not some big, I'm for articles on it too. It's not some big intergalactic. This isn't, 1,000 new jobs. This isn't reducing taxes. This is feel good stuff, and I'm for it. I'm not against it. But if you've never watched a thing called Bald and Bankrupt on YouTube, go watch it. You go watch some of it. It's this guy that's English, who for a long time went and toured ex-Soviet republics, and it's very entertaining. I find it very interesting, very entertaining. And but the Soviets were big on mosaics. They came into towns and they put up pretty mosaics. And when I see these barn art stories, I think of that. And so when this guy goes around to these ex-Soviet republicans in the town, he's always a lot of times going to see what were the Soviet mosaics they installed so that the citizens would feel like there was progress, because look at the pretty mosaics. Okay, so barn art. And then we've got an article on some people being injured in a car wreck. That's a legit article. Okay. Uh, so, it's on the front page. And then our weekly construction updates that Megan Alley usually has two articles where they put her name on them. This first one is this Maria de Quilla. The second one is Megan Alley in the people being injured. Okay. And then the third one is a weekly construction updates that is largely just appears taken. And, I keep saying, simple things like make a map and then mark on the map and have this be like a thing on the inside of the paper for construction. And that could be a routine cookie cutter thing that would actually be informative and interesting. But, that's not going to happen. They just cut and paste. All right. So the barn, now we've got, look at how much more writing we have on the barn. Okay. So the thing is, the barn, these stories, these Maria de Vacilla stories, they go on and on and on. Now, I have not read this, but it's like, how much can you write about a barn, and a painting on a barn? I also want to go back here and say, Jeff Bloom, the head of the CVB, is in the picture in the middle here. I don't know if you can see my mouse, but right there. That, our CVB, I have no idea what they do. They got this hotel tax to pay for the Milford FC facility, charging people more money. But what does it, what else are they doing? They're doing barn art. That's, maybe people are going to come tour Clermont County to see the barn art. Maybe they would, drive around and see it if it was more of a very clear strategy. All right. Now we got more on the car crash. So the first two pages have been basically the barn art and the car crash. More ads here. The community calendar. So let's see what we got here. I think they have like I said, I think the 2 weeks now I've been watching this for the Parks Board. I think they quit putting their things in here. Let's see if they show up in here, because they figured out that that's where I was seeing that their meetings were coming. So I would trigger off of it and come to their meetings, where you've got Andrew McAfee, who doesn't live in Hamilton County, in Clermont County, but appears to be a darling of the establishment to be on lots of boards. Okay, so we're rocking down. This page has all your normal content, the Sudoku, the crossword. Now we're up to page 4, the opinion. We got another John article, same shit over and over and over again. Not taking away anything from veterans or the topic that he's talking about, but it's just tired. It's just boring. It is just the same thing over and over again. And then we've got an op-ed from West Clermont. This reminds me of before the last vote where they got shellacked in a levy. There were articles by the then superintendent. Now we've got David Foltz doing these articles that nobody's really reading. And, and it's mainly pablum. Okay. It's not going to be about, reading, writing, arithmetic. Here are look at this. I didn't really read this, but we're especially proud of the impact of our absence intervention teams. Okay. All right. Why do we have teams? It's called cops. Okay. And severe absenteeism is down 14.9%, but do they have in here where, how you could calculate that in a meaningful way as to what's really going on? Moderate and at risk, It used to be the schools would be focused on reading, writing, arithmetic, and not letting the kids who are problems and the parents who are problems be a distraction from the core mission of making sure that every kid that walks in that door is getting an excellent education. If they don't walk in that door, cops. Okay. So, but anyway, they're on a charm offensive again. And I guess West Clermont doesn't realize that this isn't going to work because nobody reads the Sun. So it's not like, people are reading this and getting, now next time they come for more money, I want to vote for them. Okay. I don't know, some sort of thing on transmission projects. I didn't even, about the grid. Okay, whatever. I'm just going to keep these articles that, nothing on the judiciary, judge on maternity leave, scandal, Republicans having a good name committee. None of that stuff, Megan Alley. We have articles on, we have columns on the grid, and we've got those pretty regularly. Okay, now we're back to all submitted content. Goshen Schools, who does an excellent job. Nothing to take away from Goshen Schools. They realize it's this pathetic paper just prints whatever they send them. And so Goshen Schools always pretty much has an article. Every school district has an article on developments and activities. By the way, I think Goshen's use of the Clermont Sun in this manner is, even though nobody reads it, is better than West Clermont's, because Goshen makes the articles about actual kids, what's going on, the new things. West Clermont's articles are more or less propaganda. Not saying Goshen's aren't, but you get my point. Now, the sports section, Jake Dowling, I haven't even looked at this really because I'm just so tired of this paper. So Jake Dowling, he manages to get out and take pictures, write pages of articles, athlete of the week, I don't know. This guy, is there. Okay. Megan Alley, we don't even know where she is. I believe she lives in Indian Hill. Scores. Okay. Now these scores will probably be a little old because of the way this paper publishes. And now we have the payola. So this might be a quick one going through this paper today. I'm just so tired of it. It's just so terrible. The payola, I remind you every time that the Clermont Sun, that they can't survive without these payola ads from the government, and therefore they can't criticize the government. And because the government could temporarily switch all these ads to the Enquirer, for example, and drive the Sun out of business in short order. Okay, and then we're going to keep going. We'll keep going down here. A lot of payola ads. By the way, this edition is 12 pages. They were up to 14 pages for a couple of weeks. When I first started doing this, I think they were pretty much always 14 pages. Then they dropped down to 12 pages. Occasionally they go up to 14 pages, usually when it's a holiday and they could sell another page of ads or two. But for a couple of weeks they had 14 pages, and I don't really know why. I mean, it wasn't like they were just a page of ads. And then unruly fan behavior article by Jake Dowling. So the funny part is this guy, Jake Dowling, he does all these articles on the sports, but then he also writes like a column on a topic. Why can't Megan Alley write a few real articles and write a column about something involving Clermont County? Efforts aimed to curtail judges effing their subordinates in the courthouse. I mean, that should be a good Megan article. So you got more scores. I mean, this guy just kicks ass, and it's just so embarrassing. And I've been doing this for a long time. Maybe Megan Alley never is aware of this, but she just isn't even embarrassed, I guess. Isn't even embarrassed, okay, by when it's so stark in their own paper how bad the news coverage part is compared to the could you imagine if Jake Dowling, God forbid, got sick or something and couldn't work for 2 months? What would happen to this paper then? I mean, Jake, you're not getting paid enough probably, and you should start your own thing. You could there's ways you could be. I mean, you seem to really care about this stuff, and I think you could start your own vehicle that was the Clermont Sports Report and make more money, be more effective, reach more people, and be more fun. Think of the advertising you could sell for your own thing, because sports is generally not controversial. So I mean, that would just be the Jake Dowling Clermont Sports Report. You could become a legend, Jake, in Clermont County by not just being a lackey for this dumb newspaper. All right. Okay, so that was the whole thing. However, I'm only 15. Usually I only have like 5 minutes left by the time I get to the Jungle Gyms ad, but it was so terrible this time that it is what I only took 15 minutes to go through it, including doing a long preamble of going through. I mean, probably a quarter or third of my time was spent on just going through stuff I thought they should cover that they won't cover or don't cover or too stupid. All right, so let's go to the Jungle Gyms ad. I'm gonna be honest. Usually, I look at the Jungle Gyms ad before for a minute or two Today I didn't, and so let's see what they got here. You know what I'm gonna be looking for? Do they have Natty Light is on special on beers? That's their perennial one. But they have the 2 weeks running. They haven't had Natty Light. They've almost had it every week, but that's at the very end. Okay. Um, oh, a tote bag, Jungle Jim's tote bag. That could be a deal. That could be a collector's item. Fun thing to have. Maybe the Watchdog Wire start carrying all my gear in Jungle Jim's tote bag. All right, and then we've got some sort of K-cup coffee, vegetables, potatoes, always great meats featured on the front. Um, Hans Wiener 2 for $5. They had that last week. Come on, guys, step it up. We need different specials. Meats, lunch meats. You can take a tour at Jungle Jim's, and I want to do that. You can like call in. There's a phone number to call in, and you can take a tour, set up a tour. It's by the front door. If you go outside, so I think it'd be fun to give a tour of Jungle Jim's. Okay. Skyline Chili, love Skyline Chili. Skyline Hot Sauce, 249. Maybe get over there. My wife would probably like that. She loves hot sauce stuff. Save 90 cents on the Skyline Hot. Okay. Chuck roast, more meats. 2 for $8. Okay. You're in that pack. Oh, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Okay. So I bought some sort of like Johnsonville things at Walmart were 12 for like 8. So very similar price here for this bluegrass. All right. Party pack of burgers, $22.99, 24 burgers. Seafood. Farm fresh produce. I'm looking for something. I got the hot sauce might get me over there. Don't forget the app. Did they have their app only? They had their things where you can get them only on the app. Montgomery and barbecue sauce. You save any money on that? Just that's the price, $4.49. I want to see some savings. I want to see that I'm saving money. Okay. And now we're down to dairy and frozen. Okay. Well, ranch dip. I love ranch dip. My wife makes better ranch dip than this. I think I said that before. We used to always get ranch beans ranch dip or Walmart ranch dip, and that was my favorite kind of dip. And then my wife started making her own ranch dip, and now we get it, and I'm like, hey, this tastes like crap compared to what my wife makes. And then we've got the dairy. Pumpkin cookies, that'd be good. I like pumpkin cookies. And carrot cake. Oh, I love carrot cake. Go get a carrot cake. And we've got some natural foods here. Some lemonades. Don't forget 5% on Wednesday, Golden Buckeye card. And then finally, we got candy. I like sweets. My wife hates sweets. Stuff from India, Asia. Now we're getting almost to we got the toys, we got the pop, and then we got the alcohol. Okay. And if they do the same routine, toys and collectibles. Okay. You can get a Jesus bobblehead. Okay. 10% off on a Jesus bobblehead. That's beautiful. Maybe you can go and get your Joe Burrow bobblehead. I wonder if Hilarious Scales will go get a Jesus bobblehead. Maybe he could do that and show us his love of the Lord and maybe his voter registration. Then we got King of Pop down here. Let's see, those got interesting pop. You know what's funny is when this kind of stuff, I'm a sucker for you go into a store and they have interesting pop. And you grab it, and then it's like Ale-8. Oh, Ale-8, I get some of that. And then it's like 2 years later, the bottles are still in my refrigerator. So I'm careful about not buying pop that is not that's some impulse buy. But I do appreciate that Jungle Jim's calls it pop, not soda. Okay, it's called pop here. Let's go. We got a beer and wine. Ah, no Natty Light. We got some sort of key lime pie. What? Key lime pie, a wine or something? Some variety pack, buzz balls, vanilla pumpkin ale. Yeah. Okay, and sparkling water. All right. So that is the Jungle Jim's ad. And this might be, what time is it right now? 9:22. This is the shortest. This is probably the shortest ever I read the Clermont Sun, so you don't have to, because this thing just sucks. I mean, it's just so tiring. The pathetic. How do you not have a single article relating to the elections in like weeks? Like who's on the ballot? Who? I mean, there's profile of anything. The two judge candidates. It's just so pathetic. It's so embarrassing. And Jake Dowling, you should break off. I mean, you could start your own thing and become a legend in Clermont County for the Jake Dowling Sports Report, because you obviously really care. I bet you could double your income. I bet you could double your income in your own vehicle. I could find you investors to get it rolling, the Jake Dowling Sports Report. And it would be fun. It would be fun as hell. And you can include live stuff like live streaming media, maybe even cover some games, broadcast some games, or stream them online. It would just be so much fun, Jake. And I'm not big into sports, but you obviously are and do a great job at that part of the paper. And I'm just encourage you to be your potential is being severely limited by dealing with this crappy newspaper. All right. Okay. So that is I read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. Have a great weekend. And we'll see if any of those stories, let's see if next week the Clermont Sun has any single story on the elections. Okay. It's even the crappy newspapers in Adams County have stories on the elections there. But thank you for watching. And again, have a great week.